somebody asks you, you know, in whatever accent it would be, from whatever orchestra, and so you immediately you start in the back, or whatever the deal is. It's normal to react to what you see. It's normal. It's absolutely instinctual. It's human. It's what makes us human. But guess what? From the context of that, let's go back to what we're talking about, which is loud music. The difficult part about playing a brass instrument is how we react to emotions. Well, if we react to those emotions in that way, how often when you listen, that's why you got involved with music in the first place. You saw music being played, or you heard it being played, hopefully saw and heard at the same time, and something inside of you changed. You felt something, right? And you felt something here. So we're gonna discover what that is. So take your thumb, which is this finger, put it on your sternum, which is over here, which is here. All right, and move it down until the sternum stops, and you feel soft tissue. All right, it shouldn't be up here; it should be down here. And then just lay your hand down like this. Okay? Now, I want everybody in the room, as a group, come on with me now. I want you to be really angry. Feel angry. Alright, I want everybody in the room to be really excited. Yeah! I want everybody in the room to be, what was the other one? Scared. Be frightened. Alright? Be passionate. I won't look. What happened underneath the palm of your hand?
Muscles tight.
It got tight every single time. It got tight every single time. What are the implications for this for playing a brass instrument? If you're going to feel the music with your body, you will always feel those emotions here first. Always. No matter what the emotion is. Different emotions, different context, same physical reaction on the body. This is the cylinders of our breathing machine. This is the carburetor. This is the distributor cap. You take the distributor cap off, the car doesn't work. Same thing here. If you upset this area of your body here, you can't breathe right. If you can't breathe right, if the air doesn't move right, the buzz isn't right, the sound isn't right. The breath is tight, the sound is tight. The buzz is tight, the sound is tight. That's why I introduced that equation to you at the beginning of the class. That's how it works. So as the music's going like that, you can't react to that physically in the area that affects your breathing, which is between your nose and your hips, which is where your lungs are. You can't. And that's what's so hard about playing a brass instrument, because the physical reaction that's required to play loud, passionate, exciting, aggressive music has to be from the standpoint of complete and total relaxation in our bodies. And that's exactly the opposite of how our body wants to react. It's exactly the opposite. It's the only instrument that's like that. All right? You want to play louder on a clarinet? Create more pressure on that reed. Same thing on a piano. You want to play piano louder? You strike the keys harder. You want to play a violin louder? You move more aggressively on the bow. Those types of movements are like how we feel. Playing a brass instrument is exactly the opposite. When the music goes whoa like that, the body has to be. It's completely the opposite. That's why playing a brass instrument is so difficult. That's the difficult part about playing a brass instrument. So, how do we go about fixing that? How do we go about addressing that? How we go about addressing that is being able to redefine what it feels like to play loud. All right? We all got the notion, most of us in the room got the notion of what it looks like to play loud on a brass instrument from a lead trumpet player. Most of us. I can tell by the way you're reacting that that's true. It resonates with you big time. Well, most of that's histrionics. I would say that, and a lot of other people are like, well, yeah, man, look at Arturo Sandoval. I mean, that guy, he's like, he plays higher, his low register is higher than the piano. You know, it's like unbelievable. But when you get the chance, because I'm sure he comes to Boston early, watch Mr. Sandoval between his nose and his hips. In other words, watch his breathing machine. That guy's one of the greatest breathers in the world. He's unbelievable. And that's what allows him to do what he does. This, from here up, it's all histrionics. It's a good show. That's what it is. It's the same for me. It's the same for any other brass player in the world. This is histrionics. This is me feeling this area here. This, from here to here, always works the same, no matter what. And I work to make it work the same. How I do that is I work in the area of my playing that requires me to use the most amount of air, because that's the part I consider to be the difficult part of playing a brass instrument. If I ask 2 questions to you, you'll answer, maybe you'll answer right now, but most people would say, is it more difficult to play high or to play low on a brass instrument? You'd all say it's difficult to play high. And if I was asked if it's more difficult to play loud or to play soft, you'd say, well, it's much more difficult to play soft. Being able to play high and to play soft is almost identical in terms of the flow of air that you use for talking. Well, most of you talk. So you already know how to move your air at a rate that's akin to that, because you talk all day long. That's what it means to move air, to play high and to play soft. To play low and to play loud, which is the area that requires the most amount of air, and if you could move that amount of air like I just did through an instrument, you'd blow the joints right off the thing. That's what it means to play loud. So if you can work in the area that requires you to use the most amount of air, which is the most different from how we breathe normally, which is how I define difficult, all right? So using between 95 and 25% of our lung capacity over, rapid exchange quickly is the most different from breathing normally, therefore the most difficult. If we can work to make that part of our air exchange easy, then everything else in terms of how we use our air is less. It's derivative of that. It's easier. Everything else is easier. Any notion that it's not is just your brain telling you that it's not. It's just your head. Nothing else. The physics of the situation is that this for a 4-movement symphony, all right, is much more difficult if you're not used to doing that than to talk all day long. How many of you would practice talking in the bathroom the night before for 8 hours if you had to talk the next day for 8 hours? None of you. Nobody would. Nobody would. You'd sit and read it if it was a speech. You'd sit and read it over, but you wouldn't talk. You wouldn't talk. You don't have to practice to talk. You don't have to practice to learn how to move your air like it is when you talk. You just have to allow yourself to remember what it is to move your air like that, which is like that. You do have to practice learning how to move your air in a way that allows you to play loud.